Glad you're with us tonight for Titans Talk on News Channel 5+. I'm Jonathan Hutton with game day host and executive producer for the Titans Radio Network, Rhett Bryan. And Rhett, thanks for being back with us.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure.
So was it after the Tampa win or the Cleveland loss that you were in studio with us?
I believe it was the Cleveland loss. It might have been after the Tampa win. I can't remember. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, 4 straight home losses, though, for the Titans. They've had a stretch here where they've had some opportunities at home and have not been able to shut the door.
Except for the Miami game, the talk has been close.
Yep. Close.
And they have been close. Lost games by 2 points, lost game by 1 point, lost one yesterday by 3 points. They got to get it fixed, and maybe we'll have some ideas during the hour of how we can do that.
Plenty of phone calls throughout the hour. 615-737-7767, our number if you'd like to talk about this Tennessee Titans football team. You were at the press conference today for Ken Whisenhunt.
Yes.
What's the status on Marcus Mariota for this week?
It's still up in the air. They are evaluating him, and I think they did some tests on him today, but the big evaluations with him tomorrow will determine what will happen for him this week. And that will be some type of light physical exercise, I'm sure, to test the knee out, in addition to the medical staff continuing to look at it. So it's a touch-and-go thing, but I guess we'll just wait and see.
Well, and you've been covering the team since 1999. You saw the McNair years.
Oh, yeah.
Where he would not practice for weeks on end. I mean, there would go Wednesday through Friday. He just wouldn't be on the practice field, but he would play on Sunday. It's just different for Marcus. He's a tough competitor.
Absolutely.
Wants to play, but as a rookie in the NFL, it's a different situation than just easily comparing it to, well, McNair never practiced and he played. It's different.
That's a rarity in this day and age. And Coach Ken Whisenhunt in his press conference today kind of alluded to that. Someone asked him as a follow-up to the progress on Marcus, and he said it was really tough for Marcus yesterday, especially during warm-ups. He said visibly I could see it on his face that it was tough for him because he's a competitor. He wants to get on that field. He wants to play. He wants to contribute. He wants to win.
615-737-7767. Let's go to the phones, and we start with Larry on line 1. Larry, welcome.
How you doing? Yes, sir. I was just wondering, how long does Whisenhunt have left on his contract? Because he's only won 3 games in 2 year. Thank you, and I'll hang up.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it. Look, we've received a lot of calls on Midday 180 on 104.5 The Zone about this. 3-19 is tough to defend when you look at the record as a whole. And I said, over the next 10 games, we're going to learn a lot about the identity of this football team.
Agreed. To answer his question, it's a 5-year contract. We're in year 2 of that. There are 3 to follow. But a lot has to happen between now and then to determine how the rest of those kind of things work out. But you talk to folks in our office, on the street, wherever. When they made that change January the 14th of 2014, people were excited about that. This guy was a name. Got him as a free agent coach.
Teams were competing for him.
Right. The Detroit Lions, who made changes in their coaching staff today, were vying for his services. And so, you just never know how things work out. They do have some times to kind of turn this thing around, but it better start pretty quick.
He said today that he's open to the idea of a play calling change if it would benefit the team, but he did say he's a good play caller, so it's not going to happen.
Right. And he pondered about it for a couple of minutes because he said, you guys have never asked me this before, and I have to think on it a minute. But he did say, if it benefited the team in terms of getting a win, I'd do it. But you're right. He came back and said, I'm a good play caller. I believe I am, and I believe I will continue to be. It would have to be a dire situation, I think, before he would relinquish that. But I think a lot of people bring up those questions on Midday 180, on 104.5 The Zone, and elsewhere in any sports talk circles because of what has happened with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. He gave up those play-calling duties a while back, and they're doing pretty good right now. Of course, they got Aaron Rodgers, they got Eddie Lacy, they got players. And the Titans have players. There's just some things they're going to have to do. They're going to have to keep adding. They're going to have to keep working at it.
And when he says he's a good play caller, I actually agree with him. Look at where, look at Pittsburgh and San Diego, what he did in Arizona.
Absolutely.
The trends of him as an offensive coordinator, I don't have a problem with. I understand, though, where fans are upset and frustrated and in some cases angry about a 3-19 record over the last 2 years. I mean, sitting there, you want better results, and ultimately that's the hard line in the NFL, wins and losses.
You know, the last time this team sniffed the playoffs was 2008. 13-3 under Kerry Collins that year, and lost in the first round here at Nissan Stadium to the Baltimore Ravens.
Been a lot of changes since then.
Been a whole lot then, and it seems like it's been light years since the days of the Steve McNairs, the Eddie Georges. We had Titans homecoming weekend yesterday, you know, and saw a lot of familiar faces. Samari Rolle was there, and it seems like it's been light years since that. And in terms of time, it's going towards 2 decades worth. But I understand how angry fans are getting because, you know, they saw this stuff right off the bat.
Right.
And what they don't remember is that the transition from Houston to here, Jeff Fisher coached them to 8-8 seasons in 96, 97, and 98, and which he gets way too little credit for in terms of, you know, what that team went through. They were basically, you know, gypsies on a caravan, just going because they went from the Houston Astrodome to playing in Memphis to playing at Vanderbilt while the stadium's being constructed. And to do that in those years is incredible. But they had been fighting with the label of mediocrity, and so in '99, everything changes. New stadium, new team name, new uniforms. You already had the Brad Hopkins at left tackle, Eddie George at running back, and Steve McNair at quarterback. You draft Javon Curse, who falls into your lap at that pick 16 in 1999, and what a rookie year he had with 14.5 quarterback sacks. And it just was like lightning in a bottle. And so people kind of got spoiled to that early. But I understand. It's been too long. We do this every game day, and you know how much easier our job would be if they were winning on a regular basis. It would be so much fun.
Everyone benefits.
Yeah,
it's just better sports talk radio when a team is winning. The atmosphere in the locker room is different. And let's be honest, a win would change a lot of things, and just the conversation week to week about this football team. Close, you know, fans are continuing to hear that they're ready to take that next step. I want to see this team form an identity. You know, going into the season, I thought, well, they want this team to be a defensive team because that's where the veterans were, and they wanted to run the football well to help out their rookie quarterback. We're seeing what started out as a group of backs. David Cobb got injured in training camp in the preseason. He's on track to be back, what, week 8, week 9, somewhere around in there?
Yeah, the New Orleans week, yes. In 2 weeks.
So about a week away.
Yeah, and he's went through a full week of practice last week.
The identity of running the football, to me, needs to be a bigger part of this offense.
Yeah, because the defensive part is coming into play. You saw it yesterday.
Well, absolutely. The defense held Atlanta in that offense to 10 points. The Titans should be able to win that game. And they were running the football well early. Antonio Andrews was running with aggression. I think he deserves more than 10 carries for 57 yards because he was averaging 5.7 yards per carry. I'd like to see him get more of an opportunity. And quite frankly, I'd like to see one running back get more of an opportunity to try something more consistent running the football behind the O-line to help out whichever quarterback is back there.
And I think that's one of the things I was teasing at a moment ago, saying that may be one of the ways to fix this, because I know that the NFL is a product where it's quarterbacks and big, sleek wide receivers. Run game and defense still wins championships. It still does. And to your point about the running game, you had McCluster and Antonio Andrews yesterday, and they did well in what little chances they got. But I also believe that backs need to get into a rhythm, and a big physical back like Antonio Andrews is needed more carries than just 10. They had 15 first downs in that game as an offense yesterday. 5 of those came from the rushing attack. 4 of the 5 first downs came from Antonio Andrews running it either left, right, or up the middle. He got positive yards in all places. He runs angry. He runs with a purpose. He wants to be the starting tailback for this team. Talked to him a couple weeks ago in the locker room, and he's like, I had to kind of did a follow-up with him, and I said, you told me back in the spring that you had one goal. You wanted to be the starting tailback for this team. And I said, I kind of discounted that, and I didn't even think anything about it because you got Bishop Sankey there, you got Dexter McCluster there, you got David Cobb they drafted. But I said, you're undeterred by that. You want to be the guy. And I said, naturally, that'd be your goal, but you really mean it. He said, absolutely, I mean it. And anybody around here knows what he did at Fort Campbell High School and certainly what he did at Western Kentucky. He was a one-man gang. And I believe, given the chance, he can do it and maybe, you know, be the tailback for a while until someone else shows him better. You know, if David Cobb ends up being a guy down the road. But I think Antonio Andrews should be the running back for this ball team right now.
Phone line on the screen, 615-737-7767. More of your calls coming up here on Titans Talk live tonight on News Channel 5+.